What's up, 12s? Thanks for joining us on the Seahawks Collective presented by Hog Media. I'm AB Hasselbeck, joined by the lineup that we are so fortunate for them to spend their Tuesday nights with us. Brian Nemhauser, the Hawk blogger, Michael Sean Ugar covering the Hawks for The Athletic, and Rob Staton from the Seahawks Draft blog. We'll be recapping what was a very late Monday night Seahawks football game, 10 p.m. start for me here in Boston, and a wicked early 3 a.m. kickoff for Rob. So drop any questions you have for these guys. We'll do our best to get to all of them tonight. But I think I should start off with the first question, and it goes to Rob. Did you actually stay up at 3 a.m.? Wake up, I should say, because I know I was struggling myself here in Boston.
Yes, I stayed up. So I had like a whole plan in place, which did not go according to plan. So I needed something to do because I can watch the Mariners games now. So I thought I'll watch the Mariners game. That'll keep me awake for a couple of hours before the Seahawks start. So I needed something to do in between. And my daughter's been trying to get me to watch K-pop Demon Hunter on Netflix. So I was going to watch that, and then the time ticked along, and then I didn't have enough time to watch it before for the Mariners game. So then I watched the Mariners, and then I put the Seahawks game on, and then the game finished at 7:00 in the morning. I went to bed at 8:30 in the morning, and I feel absolutely horrendous. So.
I love it.
You got to sing "Golden" after you watch that show. Just make sure you.
I know all the songs, Brad. I can do the dance move.
Oh,
I'm gonna.
How do I turn this camera off?
It's a little shoulder thing. It's a little shoulder thing I can do. If my son had just seen me doing this to the broader public, not just our front room, he'd be incredibly embarrassed. But I've done it now, son. So.
I love it, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a little bit of a bittersweet day for Seattle sports fans, and I know a lot of Mariners fans are down in the dumps. But I'm feeling pretty good that the Seahawks are at 5-2 heading into the bye week, tied for the top of the NFC, and I don't think they've really played their best football yet. So, overall, doing pretty well.
And Mike, I know you were able to punch out a post-game show that I think started at 1:30 in the morning. Is that right?
Yeah. We didn't finish our show, our Seahawks Man to Man pod, which is out now. We didn't finish till 2:45 in the morning, and then I was up pretty early trying to watch the tape before Mike McDonald's press conference and before this, and I did not succeed at either of those things. So I've only seen the broadcast view. So I'm right there with you, Rob. And I talked to my homie. He does a pedestrian podcast about the Seahawks. It's my homie Stuart Court. Talked to Stu. He's in London. I talked to him during the Mariners game, and he sounded like he wasn't going to make it. I haven't talked to him yet, but yeah, it's I feel for you guys internationally, man.
Rob on our Seahawks Collective did, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, man, kudos to you, man. I don't know if I would have made that. And that game you should have been able to get some sleep. That should have been a blowout.
Yep.
But just you all saw the game, right? Imagine watching that at 5 a.m. Like what that particular game.
Delusion at that point. You're just thinking you're seeing things, right? In the second half especially. But before we get to just all the Hawks things, I do want to talk a little bit about what Brian mentioned, and I am heartbroken for everyone in Seattle following the Mariners loss. I mean, just seeing the broadcast pan to fans watching the game in the stands of Lumen Field was just so sad. I did love how the defense gave a little ode to the Mariners in their celebration, and that was definitely bittersweet. But I guess to just reflect on the Mariners' success this past season, love to know from you, what about the Mariners season do you think the Seahawks could maybe embrace or learn from or take for themselves headed into their own, hopefully really successful postseason, Brian?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is roster management. So I know it's like a dry topic, but the Mariners signed what might be the best contract in Major League Baseball when they signed Cal Raleigh to a long-term deal before he went on and hit 60 home runs this year. And I think the Mariners did a good job doing that with Abe Lucas. I think that I posted earlier today that the amount of Seahawks that are starters and under the age of 23 is crazy. JSN, Gray Zabel, Torrey Horton, AJ Barner, Robbie Oots, Elijah Arroyo, Nicky Manwari, Byron Murphy. The fact that Nicky Manwari is 21 is even more crazy. But I think to the extent that they can keep locking up some of these young players, not those guys who are necessarily on the rookie deals, but I think that's a big part of it. And Charles Cross to me is still high on that list. And there's some other guys that are probably on that list as well. So that would be one that comes to mind.
Mike, is there anything that comes to your mind when you think about just the Mariners and maybe what the Seahawks can take? I know you didn't have the same emotional tie to the team that Brian had that we learned about last show, but anything that pops in your mind?
Well, I do have the Mariners logo tatted above my heart, so I'm always like connected
Oh,
to
there
the
you
team
go. There you go.
emotionally. Yeah, I got that in when I was like 18 or 19. So I'm always there, and I also spent a bunch of money at the team store right before Game 7. And
You're financially involved. You're financially involved.
This hat right here was like $60. It's because it's the postseason one. So and I bought like
you gotta get on Brian's merch. What is it, Brian, that you're promoting?
Oh, Simply Seattle, yeah.
Come on, Simply
Blogger
Seattle.
15,
What's up?
15% off.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go there, but then this is my Mariners thing that was cool. Not necessarily what they could take away, but what was cool is I went to the team store and then went to Jimmy's on First, right outside of Lumen and T-Mobile to go meet up with some guys. And I watched, I think, through the 5th inning, I think, and that was just really cool. It made the Seahawks game was very secondary to pretty much everyone who was down there, which was kind of cool to see, and seeing everyone just the communal stuff we were talking about last pod with everyone just being there, strangers hugging each other after big outs or guys getting on base. That was really cool, which then it made it even more devastating when we're in the press box and I think Julio had the last out. And it just felt like the air just left the building. That sucked. But just the environment of like being outside Lumen and in between Lumen and T-Mobile Monday night watching. I think I saw Brian walk by. I can't miss the mustache. But like that was just so cool. It just felt like real sports townish. Seahawks got it done. Mariners should have too. That sucked.
Rob, how are you feeling about the loss?
Well, actually, can I ask you, Mike? Have you actually got a Mariners tattoo? Were you joking, or have you actually got that?
No, I'm serious. I'm not gonna take my shirt off on the pod, but yeah, yeah, I have the.
We'll get flagged. We'll get flagged.
I have like the little nautical star and the S right here above my heart.
I'm serious. Thing. So in England, if you were a sports fan, like typically there's a lot of men who walk around in shorts because it's cold because they have the tattoo of the logo of their team on their calf. So that's kind of it's slightly ridiculous because when you're November in England, it's like November in Seattle and Boston for that matter. So it's quite cold. So that was the question for Mike and Brian. Are you keeping? I've noticed that the mustache is still with us. Is it here to stay?
Yeah, it's funny, Rob, because 2 things. One, people are like, "Are you going to shave it?" I was like, I had a beard before. I'm not going to shave the mustache. I'll just grow back the beard. So like that'll happen. But here's the thing is Rachel, my wife, like hated it. The only person that hated it more was Dave Pearson, the PR head for the Seahawks. And today she was like, I don't know, it's kind of growing on me. So I'm like, she is CEO of my face and she gets to decide what happens. So if she wants it, it's going to stick around. Otherwise, I will start growing back the beard.
Well, my lesson for the Seahawks is if you are leading late in a game, can you handle your business? And they've not done a very good job of that in the last few weeks. And neither, sadly, did the Mariners. So that would hopefully be a good lesson for the Seahawks.
Hey, that'd be the hope, and I want to talk about all that. So let's just get to last night's game. Seahawks hosting the Houston Texans on prime time, also known as bedtime for some of us on the East. But the Hawks get to bask in a victory Tuesday after their 27-19 win. And actually made Monday night history, I think, with their new record of 31-13 on Monday night. So we like this team on the road. Now we like them even more at Lumen Field, and we like them on Mondays. But just despite the big win on national TV, like you said, Rob, it was a weird game, to quote QB1 Sam Darnold. So we'll lead off with just a Tuesday takeaway that we always do. We'll start with you, Mike. What's your big, one takeaway from the game against the Houston Texans?
Yeah, I think Mike Macdonald's done it again. He's got an elite defense. Like these guys are real deal, man. That front, this front is real. The ways that he makes all 11 guys pass rushers, which is really cool. And then conversely, or in addition to, or whatever, all 11 guys are in coverage as well. I think there was I think Boye Mafe had a PBU. I think Drake had several. Ty had a sack and PBU. Like it was just everyone can do everything. But you can only really get to that, I think, if you can stop the run the way that they are, and that is just a masterclass. I watched a little bit of the broadcast last night, and I'm really glad that Dan Orlovsky and Louis Riddick were on the call, because those guys are both they're very pro Seahawks, which is not like a prerequisite, but they really appreciate the intricacies of what makes the Seahawks defense particularly good. Like Louis is huge on that. Like defense is his thing. So when he sees Jaron Reed just whipping a center or Byron Murphy taking on a double, he's going to highlight that in real time on the broadcast. And when it's on Monday night, you have all these angles and slow-mos. So I'm glad that that was on prime time, because these guys have been doing that for weeks, but it's just different. They got more cameras, more slow-mos. So that was cool. I haven't watched the whole game yet, but I can tell just from watching like the first few series that those guys probably got their just due on the broadcast, the front. I mean, Tank, Leo, all those guys, like, which is well-deserved, because that front, I think we watched two of the best fronts in the league on Monday night, the Rams probably being the other one in that convo. So I'm glad that the Seahawks front helped them win the game and got their just due on national TV, because they've earned that. And Mike McDonald's got those guys playing very, very, very high level ball.
It was an exciting game for the Seahawks defensive line, especially. And you mentioned Leonard Williams, like he was out there tackling wide receivers. I'm like, wait, who made the tackle? I was like, shoot, man, that dude was flying. Like, let's get a speed test on him. But Brian, what was your Tuesday takeaway?
I was pretty frustrated with this game, and so I'm going to set aside my specific takeaway of this game and zoom out a little bit, which is the only people that have beaten the Seahawks, that have actually shown they're able to slow down the Seahawks this year, or really attack them, are the Seahawks. Like, whether it's Seahawks coaches, Seahawks players, like the mistakes that they make, whether it's whether they go for a fourth down or punt when they should have gone, whether it's blown coverages, even the Tampa Bay game where they gave up all those yards and all those points, you can point to a lot of errors and a lot of things that they got in their own way to cost them that game. And so my takeaway from all of that is they have not, like, if you've seen that Jurassic Park where they make that, I think it's Jurassic World, they make a new dinosaur and they say, like, he's trying to find where he fits in the ecosystem, like who can tame him. I don't think we found that team yet for the Seahawks. Like, they've gone up against, I thought last night might have been the night that this offense finally met its match, going against two excellent corners, two excellent edge rushers, an overall great defense, the number one scoring defense in the NFL. Seahawks put up the most points against that defense that anyone's done. And they played horribly in a lot of ways. They had 4 turnovers. They did a lot of things wrong. So I'm not sure what the ceiling is for this team at this point. And it's been a long time since I could genuinely say that and not have it be hopeful. I think the biggest things the Seahawks need to do are address their own stuff, not grow into something that they're not already, which I think they also can do. So, I think that's where I walked away with, man, if they can play that poorly and make that many mistakes and whoop the Texans that badly, you got my attention.
Yeah, and they're going to have their own attention, right? Because they'll have time to address just their own self-scout with the bye week coming up. So kind of came at a perfect time when you think about needing a game to really, and games to reflect on, you shooting yourself in the foot, if anything, other than another team. But Rob, what was your Tuesday takeaway?
My takeaway was I feel quite disappointed, actually, because I can't imagine feeling that way after if you'd have told me before the game the Seahawks win, I'd have thought, no, do you know what? Whatever happens, I actually came away from that feeling a little bit down, a little bit melancholic after the game, because they hammered the Texans. That should have been a 35-7, like the Rams beat the Jaguars. That should have been a game where I woke up at about 1 p.m. today. And as I'm driving to the gym finally to get in there and do an absolute horror show of a workout, I'm choosing what to listen to on the drive. And it should have been Seahawks are a legit team in the NFC. Seahawks put on a show. Seahawks are right up there with the Buccaneers and the Rams and the Niners, whoever else you want to put in there. I actually made a note of some of the video titles that I saw, and I typed in the Seahawks into YouTube. Rich Eisen weighs in on the Seahawks' sloppy win. Chaotic Monday Night Football experience was ESPN's title. PFT, Seahawks have a hard time closing the door on the Houston Texans. They made that far harder than it needed to be. And I feel like we're missing out on the chance to sort of really come on a show like this, or just being fans and thinking, do you know what? This team could do something this year, because they just can't get out of their own bloody way. And there are so many positives. We could sit here and do a whole hour on the positives from this team and this season and this game in particular. But this team is not going to go as far in the playoffs as it could do. And it's not going to win the NFC West if it keeps playing this way. They are going to lose games they should win. They're going to come up against good teams in games that really matter down the line. And they're going to blow it because they're going to do what they did against the Buccaneers, or they're going to do what they did against the 49ers in the 2 games that they've lost. It's okay to excuse this for 2 or 3 weeks. We're now 7 games into the season. They've got to get an angle on this. It's really important if they're going to get to where we want them to be this year. And I don't want to sit at the end of the season thinking they're a good team. They had a good opportunity in a wide open NFC. And as Brian says, the team that ultimately beat Seattle was the Seahawks.
It's kind of like, I like to think about what's going on with Mike Vrabel here in Boston. And he, the games where the Patriots have had 5+ turnovers that have led to just problems for them. He said it's the good, the bad, and then the stuff that gets you beat. And it's shocking that the 4 turnovers did not result in a Seahawks loss. And I think that's what stood out to me the most. Was my takeaway was like, thank gosh the Seahawks made it through that, right? Like, whew. And the visual that came to mind when I was thinking about myself just watching this game was when you're trying to play with a little kid or a baby and you do one of these like, oh, kind of things. And you're like happy, frustrated, sad, surprised, like whatever other facial expression. I know, Mike, you have a new one recently, so you probably have done something similar to that, but that's really what I felt like watching that game. So definitely can hear all those things. But yeah, I think for me, it was just surprising how they did escape a loss in that game. But I do want to talk just about some of the game management moments when you think back to last night and you think about how the game was called, some of the situations that the Seahawks were in. What sticks out to you, Brian?
Man, we could do a whole show on it. In fact, I did this morning. I'll say this, like this game reminded me a lot of the Rams game last year, where the Seahawks made an unbelievable list of guffaws that led to a loss to a team that they had clearly beaten. There's 2 red zone picks, 1 return for a touchdown. They missed an extra point, like all these things. And eventually the Rams were like, okay, we'll take it. And last night, the Texans were just not good enough to take it. CJ Stroud, like, my gosh, there's Texans fans like jumping off bridges because they're like, oh my God, our quarterback's not good anymore. But look, I'll go over some of the ones that really stood out to me. One, I think the 4th down decision to punt from the Houston 44 when the Seahawks were up in that game, to me, is pretty inexcusable. Like, you had just run 13 yards. You've never, still to this point, failed to convert an AJ Barner tush push. You have converted every single one. It was
What's
a
the name
yard.
for it though? It's not the AJ
Barnyard.
The barnyard.
The barnyard.
So is that what we're calling it?
I don't know. I'm sticking with tush push.
I like the barnyard.
I think it was like 2 yards at one point, right? Like, I don't think we can.
This
call
one
it just
was
a yard
1.
if he's able to get more.
Yes. Well, he definitely gets more than a yard. But they punt. They gain. And then they did some weird, like, try to like might run Michael Dixon out, like whatever the hell that was, and then take a 5-yard penalty. But they essentially gained like 20 yards of field position. Like, what are we doing here? Like, if you go for that, like that should be an obvious go for. And then the fact that if you had kneeled, I was talking to your dad this morning. He said the same thing. If you had kneeled 3 times and punted on most of their 4th quarter possessions, they would have been better off and they would have won this game by more points because they kept insisting on passing the football. And I actually would love to hear from Mike at some point, because I think we see this maybe a little bit differently. Generally, the Seahawks have not been able to close on offense because they haven't been able to run the football. Yesterday, they had one of their better running performances. And in the second half, Kenneth Walker had 56 yards on 10 carries, averaged almost like 5.6 yards per carry in the second half. And they would actually gain 3 yards, 7 yards, 15 yards, and then they pass the next play. There's just no excuse for it. And to put Sam Darnold in the situation again near his own goal line where you're passing the football after he already showed he had not made a good decision on that situation before, and he almost got he almost got a safety, almost could have gotten another defense. Like, that is absolutely unacceptable. And Clint Kubiak deserves a lot of the blame there, but Mike McDonald, he's on those headsets, and he should have, like, 3 or 4 different times said, okay, we are running, run. And if we get 3rd and short, then sure, you can do a play action, something like that. But my goodness, I don't have much hair. I was ready to pull it all out. It was driving me.
That's when you go for the
crazy.
mustache, Brian. That's when you start going for the mustache.
It's coming out, just ripping that whole thing off. So I'll stop there.
No, I do want to hear from Mike about that, because it was K9's birthday. Like, come on, like, let him finish out the second half. Like, give him the ball. What are your thoughts on the run game in the second half?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers again. I do feel like, just in general, they don't have. Again, I gotta watch the film, but Mike McDonald today told us, he was like, we found like what we're good at, or we found like, yeah, where we're good at on the run game. And I gotta go back and look, because I'm like, have you? I don't see a bread and butter run package there at all. And I was specifically looking for that after watching the Niners play on Sunday night. I think the Niners are kind of having a very similar issue as the Seahawks. We're like, okay, we're this wide zone team, and the other team has film too. So like, we're not catching anybody by surprise. And you look at McCaffrey's numbers before the Sunday night game, he hadn't gone crazy. I'm not even sure he had 100 yards before Sunday night.
Yeah, no.
Thank you. And what did he do? He had like 120 yards, I think, on Sunday night between the tackles. They had the counterpunch ready. And that was the thing that they could hang their hat on. They were like, all right, these perimeter runs ain't working. So here it is. When we need to bleed clock, when we need to just possess the ball for a while to keep Bijan off the field, like, to do all the right things between the tackles. Brian Robinson, Christian. And I do think that the numbers came out okay with Ken and Zach, but it didn't feel like they found that, like, the right formula. It was, I mean, I'm watching the game, the broadcast angle on my TV in here now, and it's like some good runs, then Ken's just got no shot. And then some Zach runs here, and then I think Gray had like a holding call. It's just, I do think Clint Kubiak is very much searching for answers, trying to find a good bread and butter for that. Because I think even when if the numbers check out as like being very good, I don't know what their success rate was last night, but it just doesn't feel like they have that thing where it's like, all right, let's put these guys away. Like, I'm serious. Rob should have been able to go to sleep early in the fourth, probably. Depending on what the score was, that game should have been like 27-6, I think, at some point or something. And we all should have been able to just relax. And I think it's because Clint is still searching for answers. And I think he just looks like the coordinator, at least I thought he was. I never thought he was like elite OC guy. Just like he's better than Grubb, which he does look like. But he also looks like a guy who this would be like his first time, I think, having a top 10 offense. And it looks like it. I think he's also benefiting quite a bit from having Jax to throw to. That's saving like a lot of people's butts over there in the Seahawks headsets right now.
Just to give you a couple quick numbers, because I agree with almost everything you're saying, Mike. Like, I'm looking for like bits of progress, and all they needed last night was 1 to 2 to 3 yards on these carries and then punt. Like, it wasn't necessarily like it would be great if they could pick up first downs, but this was the second lowest stuffed rate they'd had all year, which is 0 or negative yards for folks that don't know. Second best EPA per rush on the year. Second most running back rush yards versus a Houston defense all year. The only one that's done better is Tampa Bay. And this was the best yards after contact per attempt they've had all season. So, like, I just saw progress. I saw enough progress where I'm like, even if you gain 1 yard, do that and don't be dropping back. And even when they were dropping back, Rob, these weren't high percentage throws. They were over the middle of the field that were in danger, and 2 of them ended up turning into turnovers. So, like, where's the screen pass? Where's just like the simple high percentage run the clock plays?
Rob, I'd love to know from you just on that game management, but maybe more specifically, just because I'm seeing some comments about the Cooper Kupp play and the interception. What were your thoughts on just that play call?
Well, I was ready to launch my laptop across the room when that happened, because we've kind of
What was the verb you used, to lodge, or did I hear you wrong?
lob.
Lob. Okay,
LOB.
lob.
Yeah.
Okay, we know that one.
Is that you have that word? Okay, you have that word. Okay. So that was going across the room. It's frustrating because we've had a couple of moments now where I think we spoke after the Niners game. Why did you have a Jalen Milroe package in the opening drive of the season? We talked about it when they played the Buccaneers. Why were you going to Jalen Milroe in that situation there? And obviously, it created a turnover. Again, in this situation, I have no problem. I don't think anybody has a problem with trick plays. Like, a trick play can be exciting. It can be the thing that you watch again and again after a game. It can score a touchdown. It can win the Eagles a Super Bowl. These kind of things are what you remember from seasons, but you've got to just know situationally when is the time to go to it. And that was not the time. The game is in hand. You are moving the football. I was sat on my couch, just incredibly relaxed at that point, thinking, this is great. This is going to be just what I needed. We'll be done by 5. Like, the game lasted 45 minutes longer than it needed to because they didn't do what Brian said, which was just run the clock. And yet they go to this trick play. And I think it was Mookie Alexander from Field Goals who mentioned something earlier. Sorry if I've got the individual wrong who tweeted this, that like Torrey Horton's actually got quite a prolific trick play passing career at Colorado State, and Cooper Kupp's never completed a pass in his career. So like, why is Cooper Kupp the one who's throwing the football? Anyway, besides the point, situationally, it was a poor decision. And then things just seemed to escalate from there. You'd already got the sort of the Drake Thomas situation, which I still don't understand how he didn't score a touchdown there. You've got the blocked field goal. You've then given up a big pass play. All of a sudden, it's a 1-score game at halftime. And you sat there. I can't remember the last time I was that frustrated at halftime in the Seahawks game, because it felt to me like we should have been there, just basking in a Saints-style pasting. And instead, you're kind of wondering, hang on a minute, they've got the ball to start the second half. If they have a good halftime and get things organized, this could be a tied game within 10 minutes of the kickoff. So this is the thing that I worry about a little bit. And I was with everybody else, I'm sure. Massive respect for Mike McDonald. Love the job that he's doing. That defense, we need to talk about it a bit more because it's fantastic. But I'm just wondering about these sort of situational moments. Does somebody need to take control of this, whether it's the head coach or somebody with him, whose job it is just to sort of manage the flow of the game? Let him know we need to do this now. Advise on that. Because it's almost every game. They almost let the Jaguars back into it. They almost let the Cardinals back into it, to the point that you nearly lost that game when that should have been a hammering. You did blow the Buccaneers game when you were 7 points up. Your situational football at the moment through 7 games is your Achilles heel. It is the one thing that is stopping this team, in my opinion, from being 7-0. Colin Cowherd dumped the Seahawks out of his top 10 today, and he's basically been the biggest Seahawks fanboy since the summer. And even he's had enough. So this is the thing that's holding them back. I would spend a considerable amount of the next 2 weeks working out how you're going to handle this better moving forward.
It's interesting because trick plays are so fun. They're so exciting. My dad's coaching high school football right now, and I'll call him every Friday at like 4 p.m. Central Time, right before he leaves to, print out his play call sheet and all the things. And first thing I ask him, okay, what trick plays are you doing? Can you do this? Can you play this freshman? Like I'm trying to stir up something because they're so exciting and they're so fun. And you think if that play had just gone the other way, we'd be having a totally different conversation. We'd probably be like, Kubiak's a genius. That was awesome. Like the game actually took off from there. And it's just crazy how one play can really change things. But I do want to spend some time talking about the defense, but we do have to talk about number 14, Sam Darnold, just because one of the biggest questions was, can he keep up this dominance with JSN? He was 17 for 31, 213 yards. So I'd love to know from you, Mike, just what did you take from maybe a gold star that you'd give him and an NI, a need improvement from the quarterback play on Monday?
Yeah, I thought probably the worst game that he's played so far. I thought the end zone fumble, that was just compounding bad issues, like him spinning out, doing like a bad like baseball turn, holding the ball out like Terrell Owens used to on like those little quick pass. I was like, what is Sam? He hasn't done anything like that. That was really fresh. Like how I get mad at like my daughter, who was like, I'm telling you, you tell me poop goes in the toilet every day, and then I go change you on random Wednesday, and this diaper's full. Like, what did we discuss? Like, we've discussed this. I haven't seen you do this. Why are you doing this? That's how I felt watching.
The tie in there is like too perfect.
What is Sam doing? Yeah, he had some. I don't know the PFF numbers or anything or the on target, but it seems like he was a little more off than he has been. I'm thinking some of these stuff that had to go over the top of guys. I feel like pretty much every throw to Torrey was off. It felt like I have to go check that as well, just how it felt in the moment, and a little bit of a rewatch. I thought the stuff to Jax was good. I really think though with Sam and the whole offense, this is a Kubiak thing too. They got to figure out this third down thing. This is really bad. They were, I think, an average third down team going into the Jags game, and they have plummeted. They're awful. This is awful stuff. Like 3
for
of 26. I think 2 for 14 yesterday, which brings them to like 3 of 26. I want to say the last 2 games. One of those is a kneel down, so let's call it 3 of 25. That's disgusting. Like that's awful. You'll lose to anybody who's just slightly better than the Texans, like that. And there was a lot of like third and gotta have it. And I'm glad Mike McDonald brought this up today when we talked to him, because it matches how I felt watching the game in real time and a little bit of the rewatch. This is not like years past where I'd ask Gino about third down numbers and then he'd be like, oh, we got to execute, which is Gino's nice way of saying I got guys in front of me who can't block, right? Which is, he didn't need to say it because we got access to the film too. Sam can't say that. Like he's not just, his guys aren't just getting whipped every third down. You might have an Anthony Bradford whiff like here or there, but it's not just Sam's just cooked on 3rd and 8, on 3rd and 11 or whatever. It is just a lot of, he's not finding the hots. He's not finding the outlets. He's going to maybe the check down too quick. Like, oh, I don't got Jax. AJ Barner for 3 yards on 3rd and 9. Let's punt. Like sometimes that's okay. But I feel like he's getting to it a little too quick. Yeah, I just think that's where I'm kind of worried about the offense. Because if you're not going to run the ball as well, like we're talking about, well, then you're going to have to throw the ball on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. And they don't have easy buttons. They don't have screens. Rob, I might be the only one. I'll raise my hand here. I don't like trick plays, actually. I actually don't like trick. Excuse me. Let me change that. I don't like trick plays that require guys doing stuff you don't pay them to do. So that's guys who have to throw that don't throw, catch that don't catch, block that don't block. Like a flea flicker is fine, for instance, right? Because that you still requires the guy you pay to throw. Cooper Kupp throwing an over route to Jax for 8 yards if he catches it. That's idiotic to me. The payoff is ridiculous. It wouldn't have been a first down if Jax caught the ball, I don't think. That was ridiculous. So I think without those easy buttons, I'm very worried about the sustainability of Sam and Kubiak in the passing game to move the rock. Because these third down numbers, this is stuff of bad teams. Go look at all teams who are like 33%, which where the Seahawks are, I think, on third down. Those are teams whose coach might not be here. That's really concerning. That's like the main concern for me, I think, going into the bye.
You want to know their numbers on 3rd and 7+ this year?
Hit me.
They're converting 16.7%.
Yeah.
They should be thankful that the Tennessee Titans exist. They're the only team worse in the NFL at 14.8. If you want some positive news, the Detroit Lions are at 19.4. So that's a really good offense that is doing pretty poorly. Even the Indianapolis Colts, who are cooking, are at 23.5. So there are some high-powered offenses that aren't doing well there, but yeah, that's an issue. You get to the Seahawks in the 3rd and 7, they're pretty much done.
Yeah, it's bad. I'm very worried about that because this is where that scheme that is like, all right, we don't care that they're rushing 7 and we're only blocking 6 because our quarterback will find the answer. It's like that. You're playing with fire with that a little bit. And it's fascinating that Mike McDonald is kind of cool with that scheme and that pass protection setup because he uses it to beat the other team pretty much every week. He's like Boye in my face, PBU, for instance. It was like, we sent a blitz. Pretty sure that was a blitz. You drop Boye to where the hot should be. I think it was to Nico. Boom, your 265-pound linebacker gets a good PFF grade in coverage, right? Because you can manipulate where the ball goes if I send more guys and you have blockers. I'm very curious that Mike philosophically is like, I'm okay with my offense being the way that I kick other teams' butts each week. It's very weird. I wonder if he has to step in on that during this self-scout week to be like, let's give Sam more answers or what, or maybe more max protect. Because, their whole third down operation is no bueno right now.
It'll be interesting to see what adjustments maybe the Seahawks make for third down. And hopefully, you don't want to get to that point, but it's inevitable in the National Football League. I do want to talk about maybe a highlight from Sam Darnold was just his continued connection with JSN on that one throw that he literally got like bombarded as he was throwing the pass, and it was an absolute dime. JSN having his fifth 100-yard game this season. He's tied second for most 100-yard games in franchise history, second, just one behind Largent. So I do want to spend some time talking about him. But Rob, I got to ask you just your thoughts on the dunk celebration from JSN.
Impressive, as a man who is 6'3". To see a man of Jackson Smith and Jigba's height getting up there and dunking a football like that, I get a tip of the cap to him. I did sort of think at the time, like, you're a little bit too close to the referee there to get away with that one. He actually kind of dunked over the ref, didn't he? So,
it was kind of cinematic the way that it happened.
In the referee as he came towards him, like the ref, like with a touchdown signal, and he's like, I don't know what to do. Like,
there really was no hesitation. It was an impressive celebration. Like, no hesitation. Did like a 1-2 step and got that height. I thought it was funny what Sam Darnold had said after the game, just about, hey, we'd maybe like to not do that next time because of the penalty that it did cause. But I thought that was a fun moment. Brian, what did you like about the celebration?
Did you see? There's an iconic photo of that with Derek Stingley on all fours in the background.
He'll have that forever.
That's a poster right there. Like, that would go on my wall if I was a kid growing up. So yeah, this was a heat check game to me for Sam Darnold, for Clint Kubiak, for JSN. And if there was a team that was going to be set up to slow down JSN, it was this one. Excellent edge rush, excellent corner. I think Stingley, I have a ton of respect for Derek Stingley. And JSN made him look pedestrian. Like, he beat him time and again. And then he went and beat Lassiter, and then he's like, I'm going to come back and beat you now, Stingley. And JSN is starting to turn the slant route into a handoff. Like, people cannot figure out how to stop that. And when they try to stop that, he does what he did last week against Jacksonville. He sells the slant and goes out, and guys are tripping over their feet. Like, he's a magician right now. It's gorgeous to see. And related to all this, I see someone in the chat was like, yeah, I just tuned in. It seems like, this was a loss by how negative some of the conversation is. I want to be really clear. Good coaches, good fans, I think they should be hardest on teams that actually have a shot. And I think this team has a shot. Like, this team could, I'm not sure that there's a ceiling that we can reasonably set for it yet. They did what they did to the Texans without Julian Love, without Derek Hall, without Devin Witherspoon. They've done what they've done on defense this season. They're like the second best DVOA defense in the NFL. Their starting secondary has played 4 snaps together, 4 all year long. And if you're talking to me about what Nicky Manwari showed, holy God, like, that was unreal. Watching him run stride for stride with Jalen Noel, a 6'3", 220+ pound nickel corner is what he's turning into. Not just a big nickel, just a nickel. I mean, I think the ceiling is very, very, very high for this team, especially in a year where I don't think there's a Titan out there. And I'm not talking about the team. I'm talking about the being. So when you're that good, you should be really hard on yourself, and you shouldn't accept the level of mistakes and mishaps that we saw. That's where it comes from for me.
And more points too. Like, there should have been more points from the defense and the turnovers that they should have created, right? There's some questionable calls there. I know that was what was affecting me, and the face thing, the ahoo. Like, that's definitely where some of that was coming from. But I think too, what you're seeing is, and I think what's the positive here too is, yes, there's things that maybe we're talking about on like the need improvement side, but from the Seahawks, you see a really competitive, dangerous poise about them. Like, we know that there's a higher standard. We know like what we can do. We can can feel the blood in the water, like Leonard Williams was saying earlier in the week. And so I think part of the game that impressed me was JSN having the poise when he got pushed on the Houston sideline. Like if he reacted and retaliated, he could have been out of the game with his second foul. And so I think just wanted to point that out, that got national news. The ref that was protecting our superstar JSN. Thank you, Nate Jones, for keeping our guys safe. But just want to know what was going through your head, Mike, when you saw that whole heated moment go down on the sideline.
Yeah, so from the press box, I thought they were like actually scrapping in there, and it wasn't until I got the camera view that I was like, oh, Jax played that really well. And it wasn't until I talked to I think I was talking to Bobo after, and he was like, yeah, we knew if he had one more penalty, we got thrown out. And I was like, wait, what? This is carrying over from like previous weeks. And I forgot about the dunking the goalpost thing being.
It was
like
so cool. Nobody thought it was bad. We were all just like, that was sick. I actually made a TikTok about it, and I don't make that many TikToks. And I don't know if you guys are on TikTok, but there's a trend going on where you like hold from like a pole with one arm, and you kind of like, and it's to like a trending song. And I was like, you know what? Everyone's doing this themselves. JSN just did it on Monday Night Football, so I had to make it. But that's probably why we all forgot about the foul.
Yeah, I forgot about it, and I forgot how dumb I think the rule is. If only because, well, for two reasons, but the main one is because like I saw I think it was the ESPN's maybe the Sports Center account or just ESPN like on Twitter post a photo of it, and it's like you can't fine guys or flag guys for something that your league partners or the league even sometimes uses to promote the game. Like that just, come on, that's just unfair. Jack's probably going to get hit with like $16,000 for taunting or something like that. And meanwhile, let's go check the impressions on ESPN's account that has a photo of him dunking. Like, come on, that's just unfair to the players and coaches. But just what almost equally impressive as Jack's keeping his cool and dunking was, what he was able to do against that secondary. I think I wrote a feature on Jack's that ran Monday. And just like, I think the headline was something that my editor wrote. It was like, JSN knows you can't guard him. Now he's just about to show you. And sometimes I've had good luck where I wrote about a guy and then he goes out and does it. And then sometimes I've written about a guy and like he gets hurt and I feel bad. This one worked out great. It was like everything that I was talking about that came to fruition. And it was everything that those guys, when I did interview players and coaches for that story, they told me, they was like, we don't care who the other team has, what coverage they run, does not matter. We take number 11 against whoever, whenever. And obviously every team says that, but Jax makes it come to life in a way that like, he didn't even need to make no contested catches like that. Maybe the touchdown, that's it. He just barbecues guys. He really is right now producing like the best guy in the league. And the fact that he's on pace to break Megatron's record, like, nuts that is to me to hear like a guy looks like Jax on pace to break the Megatron, now with more games than Megatron, but still, that is like, Jax needs a nickname at this point. If he's going to produce like this, he is watching him every day is a pleasure. It's crazy.
Yeah, and he's now really crossed over into like the MVP conversation overall, which I think is just so exciting for Seahawks fans to have someone on their team that you can talk about in those national conversations. But I do want to talk about two guys on the other side of the ball in the defense as a whole, but two guys who did not play, Devin Witherspoon and Julian Love. And Brian, you talked about it earlier, just how this Seahawks starting defense has only played 4 snaps together all season. So Rob, just from you, like when these guys come back, Mike McDonald said today that if they could have, they would have played, but then we had reports earlier that was like, oh, they were going to play, they could have been able to play. So a little bit of a mixed messages that I'm hearing, at least. But when they do come back, because they're projected to be back after the bye, what do you think this Seahawks secondary is going to look like?
Well, it's really important to get back because I was looking at PFF earlier, and everybody on Seattle's defense is really bad. So it's important that they get some good players back. I noticed that Leonard Williams got a 61.4 for his performance yesterday, and that was Seattle's 12th best defender apparently. And I mean, look, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I watched that game yesterday and thought Leonard Williams was freaking awesome again. So I didn't think he was the 12th best Seahawks defender. But maybe they should go and replace him with Tier Tart or somebody like that, who's obviously having a much better season. And Nick Memori was another one. Brian mentioned him. I thought he was fantastic again yesterday, and just looks like a developing talent, and his grade was 13 points lower than Brandon Peely's. So again, maybe I'm not looking at the right things here. Maybe Nick Emamori was actually just pretty average in that game. So sarcasm aside, but I am British, so we have to be sarcastic once every 3 hours. I do think that is obviously going to be a huge boost. The defense has bounced back from that Tampa Bay game and put together 2 good performances now. If you then chuck in Julian Love and Devon Witherspoon, you got to imagine it's only going to be better. They've actually won if you'd have said, I think after the Buccaneers game, do you know what? Love and Witherspoon are not going to be back for the next 2 games. You might have feared what the result of those 2 games might be. And for the Seahawks to win both of them and now to have a bye week, to think that they might be fully recovered when you get back from that bye week is a huge positive. And I'm still keeping my hopes up that in the next couple of weeks, we may well see an addition via trade to this defense. So I'm hopeful that maybe there's somebody else, or even a couple of players might be added to this defensive unit, because I think if you could just get a little bit more in certain positions, then this could be a heck of a unit.
Did you guys pick up there was a little bit of a disconnect between Mike McDonald and John Schneider about Devon Witherspoon and Julian Love? Did you guys?
Well, that's what I was saying. I was saying, like, literally, I heard different things. So it's a genuine question. Brian, what should we know?
Well, so John Schneider, in his pregame interview for the radio yesterday, said it's that point in the season. You have to look at late November, December, January as well. So we're just doing the smart thing with those guys. They both really want to go, but working with our health of player and performance and athletic trainer, our medical staff, really listening to those guys, how they feel about their bodies. We don't want to put them in harm's ways. So we expect them back. So that sounds very much like they're thinking about the future. This was a chance they could have played, but they're trying to be conservative. Mike, today, when I asked him that question, was like, no, if they could have gone, they would have played. So maybe there's not as much daylight between those 2 statements, but John Schneider sounded to me like the interpretation was this was a conscious decision to hold them out with an eye on looking toward the rest of the year. And that's why I asked the question of Mike McDonald today, because that's pretty rare. Like most NFL teams, especially coaches, they want to win every single week, and you don't hold back your best players for sure. So whatever, they got away with it. And I hopefully that will mean that those guys will be available for the balance of the year, because they're huge parts of this defense. And I think there's a whole portion of this playbook that we haven't seen that will include Nick Emamori and Devon Witherspoon on the field at the same time. I think those 2 in particular are really important.
Yeah, I think overall you can't be more excited about the Seahawks defense. And just to kind of read off some of those injury updates that you were discussing, Brian, McDonald does expect to have Devon Witherspoon, Love, and Derek Hall back for their game against the Commanders. Oots will hopefully also be included in that group. And then just noting some injuries from the game on Monday night, Derek Young did leave with a hip injury. There's no update on that and his status as of right now. So we will see just how that all plays out. But I guess the good thing is that for the Seahawks, they have time with the bye week to rest, recover, get rejuvenated, all those things. But just the success that the Seattle Seahawks defense has had without 2 of those big name guys is unbelievably impressive. But we do want to talk a little bit more about the Seahawks defense and what you need to be all excited for and the things that are coming up. But first, I'm so excited to share our sponsor for this season, the Sleeper app. If you haven't already heard us talk about it on this show, here's a quick video, so check it out.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
We're so excited to have the Sleeper app with us because, like this collective, it offers all the things. So many we could spend the whole show listing them off, but it's news alerts, live scores, stats, real-time chats with others, and you can win real money. So make sure you check out the #1 sports app today and try it out for yourself. Use promo code HMA and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. So check out the Sleeper app today. We are so excited to have them with us this season. season. And we hopefully get to be talking to you about them after more big wins. But for that to happen, we're going to need the Seahawks defense to keep delivering. So I'd love to know just from you, Rob, when you looked at the Seahawks defensive performance, what stands out to you the most from Monday night?
Well, they felt like they created non-stop pressure. Mike mentioned it earlier. This ability to make every player a pass rusher is exciting. CJ Stroud he had no time to settle at all. I think one of the big things for me is the performance of Chenna Nwosu. Since he's come back to have, I was actually just having a look at his stats now. So he has, well, according to PFF, there's some reason the stats are all different. Like ESPN says he's got 5, and then here in the old PFF, they're saying he's got 7 sacks. So
give it to him. Give it to him.
It's a good place to be when you've only played 6 games. He's got 20 pressures in the last 4 games. I mean, it still wasn't good enough to be anything more than the second to last. So here's the thing. Look, I'm really sorry. I have to bring this up because it's my little campaign at the moment. Chenna Nwosu was apparently the second worst player on the Seattle's defense yesterday. This is despite having 6 pressures and a sack and not missing a single tackle. Like, his pass rush grade was a 62.3. Like, can someone explain to me how someone who gets 6 pressures and a sack is a 62.3 and was the 14th best player on Seattle's defense? The only player who was worse was Ernest Jones. Of course, he had this horrible play where he had an interception and ran it back for a bit. So obviously deserves to be listed as the 15th worst player on Seattle's defense. The worst player, actually, on Seattle's team yesterday. I just don't understand this. But Nwosu, I think the fact that he's come in, we did see pressure from Maffei and Hall when they were kind of like the 2 main players. But now we're seeing real production from Nwosu. DeMarcus Lawrence just looks... He's getting better and better every week. You combine that with this interior defensive line that is playing so well, and Emenwari's impact as well. And you just think, wow, this is a really good defense. It's just fun to watch. If they can play at this level, and we said we've got the players to come back as well, then this is a team that can have a deep run if they can get out of their own way. And that's what's exciting. It's just a really, really strong looking unit.
You hear Rob talking about Chenna Nwosu just as the big play moments. And for me, I think like Ty Okada, like that was a big time deflection in the red zone, and Ernest Jones and DeMarcus Lawrence, like you mentioned. So Mike, for you, who's maybe a guy that really fired you up on this defense on Monday?
Yeah, my answer is Tank. I'll get to him in a sec. I think, Rob, the discrepancy there, Chenna has 5 sacks, but if you count the half sacks as their own sack, just how you get to 7.
Oh, is that what they do?
Yeah, they don't have sacks on PFF.
They don't have the ability to give a half sack. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they don't. So they're bad at grades and decimal points. That's good to know.
Yeah, I don't use PFF grades at all for the reasons that you are mentioning sarcastically. But yeah, I think that is the answer to the discrepancy there. Tank shows up a lot though. To answer your question, AB, he is almost operating as like a 4th defensive tackle, almost like he's just so strong. They had either the 3rd down stop or a 4th down stop. They had a bazillion short yardage plays yesterday, so I can't keep up. But there was one where he just bench presses the tackle. That's it. Just I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. Now the Texans O-line is not good. We all do enough push-ups. We could probably bench press one of those guys. But just Tank, the way he's doing it is just is unreal, man. He's been as advertised as a free agent addition. Looking like one of the better ones that John Snyder's had, in terms of like, you sign the guy, the money makes sense, and then the guy is who you want him to be. He is excellent stopping the run. You can line him up pretty much anywhere. But honestly, the whole unit, really, I think they're playing really together. The only time they didn't look together was when Dalton Schultz was on a play action boot. That was it. That's the only play they had. It really was. It feels like their OC Nick Caley at some point decided, look, we're just like playing Madden. Like, we're just gonna hit circle, until the team stops it. I don't play video games anymore, but I do remember just spamming the same play. I'm pretty sure all of Dalton Schultz's catches were a version of just a naked boot. So that was it. CJ did look look rattled there. He looked like how I expected him to. I think that Texas offense is garbage. So I wanted them. I expected them to dominate. It really is the fault of the offense that game was not like 40-6. I'm rewatching the game now. This is, but Brian. Some people in the comments were like, "Why does it sound so negative?" Because we watched the game. I just rewatched it. Now we've been talking. This is real bad. They had 14 possessions last night. Realize that. It's a not good points per possession number by the Seahawks. But yeah, the whole defense, starting with Tank, and I guess an honorable mention, probably to Murph as well. He's starting to be that guy, on a more consistent down to down basis. Because like you could have took his best plays from 2024, thrown them on YouTube, and he would have looked like Grady Jarrett. You know what I'm saying? Just that in that sample. Now it's just like that. You do that same thing, and that video is gonna be twice as long for 2025. It's just more snaps. It's a lot of the same stuff, to be honest. It's just more of it. He beat a double team on the first drive, I think, and made the play. Like, he's probably not supposed to make that play. He's probably supposed to eat the double, and made the play. That's the first round part of that position to me. It's like, okay, a lot of fat guys can eat up a double team, right? How many can then do that and then go make the play? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why you were first round pick. So both Tank and Murph really jumped out. The whole D-line, like I said earlier, but those guys, they just looked like they decided to be better than all the Texans yesterday. And that's a big reason why they won the game.
Well, you're giving it to all the guys, and we still don't have a name for this group, this Mike McDonald defense yet. I think the closest thing we have right now is this death zone football that Mike McDonald talked about post-game, and he really just said this morning that it's the mentality and in the welcoming the tough situations on defense. So, Mike, we'll close with one last thought from you on just this death zone football. What are your thoughts on that phrase, number one? And number two, what was maybe the moment, whether it was in the Monday Night Football game that we just watched with the Texans, or maybe from the whole season so far, that you were like, man, that is Seahawks death zone football?
Yeah, I still don't think we've had the one yet, the moment yet. I'm not a big fan of death zone. Mike McDonald talked on the radio explaining the mob ties thing that he said in his post-game speech. Mike's post-game speeches need some work. He looks like he doesn't. It looks like he just found out they won.
No,
before they turned the cameras on.
I love them. They're cinematic. He went into after he talked about like the mob ties and the death zone. Then he got like kind of stern and quiet. He's like, and just imagine if we connected on all three phases. Then you hear the guys in the back go, ooh, like it was like a movie. It went from like super like death zone to like cinematic and poetic. And imagine if we had connected on. Go watch it if you haven't watched it. Seahawks social media team. Shout out to you guys. They are by far the best, I think, in the league and any pro sport I've ever seen. They are top notch on all the design and everything, but even just the content that they capture, it's pretty impressive. But I liked the post-game speech. Brian, what were your thoughts on death zone football?
I'm not a huge fan of the death zone thing. I mean, if the team likes it, I'm fine with whatever. I like MOB is mission over bullshit. We can say that on this channel. And so I actually like going from LOB to MOB. Like, I think there's a lot of fun that you could have with that. I think that I'd play around with that personally, but it doesn't matter what I think. I 100% agree with Mike Dugar there about the post-game speeches. I mean, Mike McDonald, smart accounting finance guy, like was going to work for an executive, management firm or whatever, has all that going for him. But when it comes to like connecting emotionally to guys in the moment and thinking like real time, I don't think that's his strength.
It is not.
I've been in locker rooms as a player, not professional locker rooms, but I understand when you have a coach or a player that's trying to do that doesn't really have it. And it's, you love Mike McDonald. How can you not? He's a genuine, authentic person. I think that matters the most. But if he could figure out how to, like, maybe AD needs to take over some of those. Like, maybe
he was the one who came up with the death zone football thing. So
I don't think it's going to be Clint Kubiak that inspires him how to improve those post-game speeches. So
not at all. I vote for just having Jaron Reed do it. By the way, if they just have Jaron Reed do it every week. Like, who's going to complain?
Hitting and running.
Ernest Jones, like, those are the guys I would stick with. But like, let's just hope this team deserves nicknames, and that their post-game speeches, John Schneider famously pulled his shirt off after a Super Bowl, and I know he doesn't love that picture, but I know every Seahawks fan does. Doesn't have to be pretty. Like, let's just have those moments and have, locker rooms that are worth paying attention to in weeks 16, 17, 18, and beyond.
Hey, I love Mike Macdonald's post-game speech, so I'll give him some gold stars and some flowers there. But I guess because we have a little bit of a different opinion, Rob, I'll let you close out the show with your own version of what maybe you thought the post-game speech could have sounded like for the Seattle Seahawks in the locker room.
Are you asking me to deliver a speech?
Oh yeah, give us your
Oh, boy.
10 seconds. It could be
Okay.
30 seconds. It's
Right.
9:02 p.m. Eastern time. You got the floor.
Here's what I would have done. Right, guys, that was bloody awful. I hope you're all really ashamed.
PG.
30 minutes ago, this could have been over and Rob could have been asleep by now. So please next time make this easier, because frankly, we're all too old and stressed for all of this. So yeah, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
That was
I love it.
You're hired.
Hey, you're hired. We'll take you.
That was
on
just as
staff.
good, Rob, as Mike in Pittsburgh when he started off by saying, "Guys, I don't know what to say." Literally the first. It's on the YouTube channel. I don't know what to say. He was like, "Yeah, we won this game in the offseason." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And that was after this first win. Oh, he's bad. He's authentically bad, though, to Brian's point. So it works, but like it is not.
Listen,
that wouldn't fire me up. I'd be like, "Coach, just play the music."
It's not Dan Campbell.
Hey, I think they like it. If you look around the locker room and you see the temperature of the room, it sounds like they like it. They're dancing, they're hyping him up. You got pictures of Leonard Williams like grabbing him from behind, giving him bear hugs. Like, these guys are fired up. But Rob, I'm gonna clip this part of our show, send it to Dave Pearson over at the Seattle Seahawks, and see if he can get it to Mike McDonald, and see if maybe between the bye week, maybe there's an opening in the Seahawks staff. You never know.
Well, hopefully so.
So we'll see. But thank you all for watching this week's Seahawks Collective. It might be bye week for the Seahawks next week, as they're getting a well-deserved rest before they take on the Washington Commanders. But we will be back here on Tuesday. So get ready for a show you will not want to miss. That's all we have for tonight. Thanks so much for watching the Seahawks Collective. I'm Annabelle Hasselbeck. Go Hawks.